one more time. Hey guys, how's it going? Miami here with JST, and if you heard that clip a second ago, I think you can kind of understand where this video is going, right? We're trying to understand what gives character to a vocal. And it's kind of hard to explain. It's easier to showcase, but I genuinely didn't really know how to put this thing into words. So I was thinking, since it's Howard Benson month, let me just ask Howard how he feels about this. And then what I'm gonna do, as you already heard, is I'm going to take that and put it into practice in an example so that you guys can hear the difference between these things. Because typically when I'm thinking of like adding character to a vocal, there's a few ways that I would do it. You know, I would push more when I'm singing something. I would maybe add vibrato. There's just a couple little tricks that I go to in my bag when somebody's like, it doesn't feel right to me yet. I don't feel the character. So yeah, let's take a listen to what Howard has to say, and then we'll jump into an example of what that actually means.
Okay, so great question. How do I get a vocal to be compelling? So I think for me, when I do a vocal, I'm almost afraid to think about why I have a quality control or why I think something's great, because I kind of know at this point. It's sort of inherent in how I think about singing. But when a singer's in the studio, I'm assuming that because they're in my studio, that they can relatively sing in time and in tune, within reason, and I'm not really paying as much attention to that. With new singers, you would have to pay more attention to that, obviously. But with experienced singers, people who have been singing a while, usually they can pretty much hit it close enough where if we need some extra tuning or something like that, we're not making it sound wacky. I usually say to them, okay, sing it all the way through first. I usually get a take that's completely through so I can hear where their natural first take arcs are, like where they're really trying to emphasize things. And then I'll go ahead and break it down into different sections. I think most people do it like that. Sometimes I'll say to the singer, where do you want to start? And they'll go, well, I want to do the choruses first because the verses are kind of are more aggressive and screamy or something, and they don't want to blow out their voice. I usually leave it up to the singer. In fact, the more I leave up to the singer, the better. So if I say to them, okay, where do you want to start? They'll go, well, I want to do the choruses. Great, let's do the choruses. And then I'll have them do the chorus all the way through and then realize sometimes they won't be able to get all the way through it. They'll have a breath in the wrong spot. So we get rid of a lot of technical stuff like that. And we'll get, okay, we're gonna do these 2 lines. So we do the 2 lines and then it's good. And sometimes, occasionally, the first take's the best. Most of the time I don't find that's the case. And I'll say to them, awesome, let's have a few more. So we go through it and then I'll start saying to them, I need you to enunciate more. A lot of times, some singers can already enunciate pretty well, but you can solve a lot of problems with proper enunciation, because what happens is when somebody enunciates, they all of a sudden sound like they're more into it because they're hitting the consonants harder, they're hitting things harder, and you're getting more of energy out of them. So that's just a simple way of just getting, okay, I want a better take, enunciate more. Now, sometimes they'll go, well, I sound like a typewriter. Well, believe it or not, later when it's mixed, you're not gonna sound like that. You're gonna you want to be able to not bring the vocal up so loud in the mix that the music sounds like light. So the more they enunciate, the more balanced you can put the vocal into the mix. So I always tell them that so they don't feel so uncomfortable doing it. By the time we're done 3 or 4 or 5 takes, usually I don't go beyond 10 takes on a part. It's maybe, like my vocal sessions last 2 hours max. If it's not there in 2 hours, we ain't getting it. And their voice is starting to go like this anyway. So I'll say to them, like in the 3rd or 4th, 5th take, hey, you gotta push, just push harder. Just give me more. I won't even give them any direction like that. It's just very simple. You need to sell it to me more. I need to believe more. I need to feel it more. Remember, if you tell them too much of how to sing, they're not gonna own the vocal. They're gonna be trying to copy you a lot. And sometimes singers are good at that. If somebody has sung something they can sing to that you really like, that's not a bad idea of doing that. But if you're trying to teach them things in the studio really quickly, it's just too much information sometimes. So they're starting to miss stuff. In fact, I'm finding right now that just because I am who I am, singers will come into the studio and sound twice as good right away because they want to make me happy and they want to please me as the producer. And I'll get these great vocals almost immediately out of them. But then I just push them, and sometimes the last 2 or 3 takes, I'll just go, you know what? Just go for it. Like, I don't care if you miss the timing, I don't care if it's out of tune, I don't care if you miss the words, I don't care. Just give me some, just oversell it. Believe it or not, sometimes those oversold ones are the ones that I use, because at the end of the day, when everything's put together and all the energy's there, the energy from those vocals are the ones that really, and I'm not saying the whole vocal, but you have the edit when you do your comp, you'll find that there's certain words that have all of a sudden, because they're oversang, there's a lot of character in those words, and then you can edit them into your main vocal take. So I do a lot of that. Now, I don't tune my own vocals. I tend my vocals out for that because I just comp it together the way I want to hear it. I don't use auto-tune when I'm comping. I never use any tuning. I want it to sound natural, but then I will send it to somebody who does a very light tuning to it. And then if I need to tune it more, I will tune it with again later. But I sometimes try not to do that, just so we have, we can keep as much of the natural inflections as we can keep. So that's pretty much how I approach it. Every singer's different. Some singers, they have a level, they have an amount that you can get to them, and that's it. So there's something else I actually, on a more esoteric level, I was really influenced early in my career. I'm a big reader. I read a lot of books, and I read a book written earlier in my life called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. It's written by a writer named Robert Pirsig. And the whole book is about the argument between what's quality, like what is good, what makes something really, really good. And in his book, he breaks it down into two things, classic and romantic. And to simplify it, I mean, if you're listening to music and you love the way it sounds and you don't really know why, but you just really love it, and you have no idea like why you love it, then that's sort of the romantic way of looking at a piece of music. And the classical way, the way he says it, of looking at it, is you love the form. You like the fact that there's like, here comes the verse, here comes the bridge, here comes the chorus, here's the pre-chorus. All these things fit together, and in Latin song, good form. So I try to combine both those things together in a record. I try to have really good form and really good performances that are like, people are used to listening and it sounds good. But the certain amount of chaos that you have in a song also makes it great. I think I really respect Max, for example, on his key changes that he does that are really sometimes chaotic. And you just go, wow, where does that key change came from? It's like the first time you hear it, it bends your ear, but then you go, wow, that's amazing. Or a lot of times I'll throw in a suspended harmony that will bend your ear for a second, but then you get used to hearing it. Or sometimes I'll have an artist sing something that is just maybe not even the right key for a second, and then you just go, wow, the first time you hear it, you don't really love it, but then you can't it's almost like the mistakes is a better way of putting it. All the little mistakes that people tend to take out of things, I kind of tend to leave them in. So I think a lot of times, even in the studio, we will, in our guitar playing, a little secret we do is we will do our left and right rhythm guitars. A lot of times we'll send the guitar player out in front of the amplifier, a real amp with like tubes and things like that. I know some of the kids don't know what that is, but like there's these things that light up and they're tubes. Anyways, they stand in front of the amp and they play the whole song right through, just like this. And there's mistakes and it's chaotic and it's not maybe in time. We'll blend that in a little bit to the center, and it just all of a sudden creates some kind of like magical stuff that is happening through each chorus is a little bit different. Each part's a little bit, maybe louder, softer, and all that. It's not so perfect. And then it just gives it some kind of like, it does that to it, So you have to make sure you don't make things so perfect that there's just no feeling. You don't get that romantic feeling of the song, that you just love it and you don't know why, We're still making records for the worst possible listening situation. I always tell my artists that. We're making them for CV listening and CVS on the little speakers, or out when you're on the beach and listening to a boombox 30 feet away. If you can get the feeling from the lead vocal and from the music that it's still affecting you, then you've made a really great record. Then you've done your job as a producer. Most people are not sitting in front of two NS10s listening at a 60-degree angle at 70 dB. They're just not, And so you have to just think in terms of what's the worst situation. A lot of times car speakers sound like shit in some cars, and you just go, okay, two of them are blown out. I'm only hearing the left side. That song better affect you, because that might be that person's listening experience. I've had people wire their systems up backwards. I've had all kinds of stuff. I had an A&R person in a record company have his system wired out of phase for his entire career. So yeah, there it is.
Okay, so I pretty much understand what he's saying. He's pretty much saying that people at the level that he's at kind of have an understanding of what he means when he asks for more or to push more so that he could feel it. And I'm going to try and break this down with a couple of takes so you guys can understand what that means. Because it's really important to get in your head what that means when somebody's like, give me more of something, right? So let's get into that.
All right, guys, so we're going to take what Howard said and we're going to try and implement it into this song. This song's called Lifetime by 3 Days Grace, and I was actually in the studio when they recorded this, so I kind of know the feel that they were going for with it. When he's saying push and give me more, this is kind of what I think he's talking about. And I always track with a little bit of auto-tune on. We're gonna throw that on right now. And I tend to use Howard Benson vocals. So pretty much it sounds like this. I really like this HB Vokes channel with effects, and it kind of does this thing. So I'll show you what it sounds like with no emotion versus with emotion. Let's go. You were the one that I wasn't supposed to lose. One more time. You were the one that I wasn't supposed to lose. And hopefully that kind of explains the thing. Instead of sounding like a keyboard in this, you were the one that I wasn't supposed to. You were the one that I wasn't supposed to. And a couple things that can contribute to that, besides that push that you're adding in that grit, is really adding vibrato. You were the one versus you were the one. It's one easy way to add it. And also, when you add grit and saturation or to your take, it'll change that too. So let's listen to that. You were the one that I wasn't supposed to lose. That's another little cheat code for when you're in the studio and you can't get the vocalist to sound how you want them to sound. We're gonna kind of go through this one more time. What's another part of this song? Check. Yeah. But yeah, mostly what I want you to understand, what he's saying, that push, adding that grit from your voice versus never again to never again, never again will I. You know, you want the character more than you care about the pitch, really. The timing with a vocalist is kind of mostly going to be there if they are at the point where they can do this thing. And hopefully you learned a little something about this, and the next time you're in the studio with someone or you're listening to a vocal take, you know that the person's not giving everything and it might need to be retracked, but that's kind of the push I think that he means. It's chaotic, and it's something that you can't replicate with just using plugins most of the time. And one thing that you can help with, like I said though, is using like a saturation. It can really feel like a person's adding that grit that they have in their voice. So hopefully that helps you guys. And if you have any questions, leave it in the comments below.
I want to thank Howard so much for, taking the time to answer these questions and to kind of inspire me a little bit to want to focus and work on my craft, because a lot of the time with a vocal, what makes it special is the inconsistencies of it. There's the technical aspect of it that we really like. It's in pitch, it's in time or somewhat, but is the character and the feeling there? And that becomes a much larger topic to discuss. Hope that we cleared that up for you in this episode. If you're an engineer on the come up, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. You only have to do it one time, and tap that bell for notifications so when a video drops, you know the location. Till next time, my friends, I'll catch you later.